And if all you want is to come out and play, but you gotta get away when Slim Pickens does the right thing and rides the bomb to hell, then you are ready for this episode of Discography Discussion. I am Joe, that is Dan, this is Melissa from the Good Evening Kitties podcast.
What's up, guys?
And we're talking about the Offspring because why not?
Because fuck you, that's why, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Ask me if I'm pumped.
Hey, Melissa, are you pumped for this?
Yeah! Yes, I am. I am so pumped. I got my Offspring shirt on. I got my notes. I'm ready to do this.
I want to let you guys know right now that I did not want to do this.
Come on, Dan. It's
But the
fun.
records show that Dan did not want to do this.
I have been outvoted by other members of the podcast
You're welcome.
who aren't here.
He's welcome.
And I have been outvoted by our listeners. Thank you guys so much for being
Thank you,
listeners.
guys.
So I guess tonight we are going to break our normal tradition of only talking about metal bands and talk about the Offspring.
Well, for those people that love the Offspring as much as I do, first, let's be honest with ourselves. We don't love the Offspring because we were there day one when they released Jennifer Lost the War. We love the Offspring because of, I think, one of two reasons. Those two reasons are, or more likely than not,
All right, guys, who's ready to get their ass kicked at Tony Hawk 2?
shut up, buddy, you're not on this episode.
Can I come back next week?
I think we can work something out.
Okay, bye.
Well, now that that's been taken care of, the Offspring.
Oh, I forgot. I'm the host of this show. Shit. Okay, so the Offspring is a punk rock band from California that came out in the late 80s, early 90s. They played punk rock for a while. They went to, like, pop rock, kind of stayed there, went back to punk a little bit, but not really. And then they, put out a really shitty final album that was not actually a final album. And it's been a good episode, guys. I appreciate everybody that came on to do this.
Well, before Dan chickens out at the last minute, I'm going to take this time to say thank you to everyone for listening to the podcast. Thank you for listening and for subscribing. If you are not a subscriber, you can find everything Discography Discussion at discussmetal.com. We are on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, so if you have an Amazon Echo or Google Home, you have no excuse. Ask it to play the latest episode of the Discography Discussion podcast, and it will. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter at Discuss Metal. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. It really helps us out. It lets us know you're listening. And now Dan is going to tell us all about 5-star reviews.
We love 5-star reviews here on Discography Discussion. If we're your favorite podcast, leave us a 5-star review. We would appreciate it. Unfortunately, we do not get a big fat check every time somebody leaves us a positive review. However, reviews are a really helpful tool for podcasts these days. The world as we know it now runs, especially online, by recommendations. Everything's an algorithm, people. So podcasts that are highly rated are podcasts that get recommended to more people. So it's a really good way to help us grow, and we really appreciate it. And one of the perks that we have is that we will read any reviews that are submitted to us, positive or negative. And I've got a new review on Apple Podcasts to read for you guys right now. This was submitted by C. McCoy 427, and it says, "Awesome. I found your guys' podcast a few months ago. I've listened to maybe 20 episodes. I feel like this podcast was made for me. I'm 37. My gateway to metal hardcore punk was through Tooth and Nail Records, and then went on to discover all the other good stuff. I also live in STL. Just bought a place in Soulard last fall. Thanks for all the awesome entertainment. I drive for a living, so I'll definitely be listening weekly. Nashville, Suicide Mission, and Rusted Skin were some of my favorite locals from back in the day."
Hell yes.
Thank you so much, C. McCoy, for that review. We appreciate you, and hey, it sounds like we're going to probably end up running into each other at some point. Hopefully when we're not in vehicles.
Not in the face.
We also received a Facebook review from Jake Barrett. Jake writes, "I just found this podcast. I started with the Deadsy episode since I've been on a random Deadsy kick lately." We're always on a Deadsy kick here on Discography Discussion.
Every day of my life.
Moved on to Dillinger Escape Plan, and I'm definitely hooked. I'm going through the new metal episodes now and can't stop listening. You guys rule. Thank you for your work. Well, Jake, you are quite welcome, and we appreciate you and that review.
We got a YouTube comment on episode 72. Non-Point with Rob Rivera. This is from Fair and Wolf Gremio Lycan's Legacy. This video made my year. I love Non-Point. Greetings from Chile. Greetings to you, sir. And now Melissa is going to tell us about the Good Evening Kitties podcast.
Oh, all right. I have a podcast, as you guys, this is my third time on here before, so you probably know that, but if you don't, I have a podcast called the Good Evening Kitties podcast. It's all about the tales from the crypt, and sometimes I throw in some horror movie reviews, but it's pretty fun. I've kind of got a good groove going. In about a month or so, I'm going to have a bunch of stuff coming out for my 1-year podcast anniversary, but you can basically find the Good Evening Kitties podcast pretty much wherever you find your podcast. There's also a Facebook page, and yeah, so I hope you check it out. It's really fun.
Cool. We will put links to that in our show notes for this episode.
So, Melissa, tell me about The Offspring.
Oh, guys, The Offspring. Band from California. Mostly consisted of Dexter Holland, Greg Kay, and Noodles. They've had a multitude of drummers throughout the years, but they have one since 2007 now, Pete. I didn't realize how expansive their career was. I mean, it's been 34 years, 9 albums with 1 on the way, and I'm like, dang. So yeah, I mean, this band meant a lot to me. It was fun to go back on the songs and see where I kind of fell in and realize that I was probably a bit young to be listening to some of the songs. But I got stories about the band, all kinds of stuff. I don't know what you want to know.
My favorite thing about Offspring was in 2008 or 7, I don't remember which one it was, they put out a press release about how we're done, and I'm not kidding, a week later, and we have a new album coming out. And I was offended because I felt like one of my favorite bands, one of the most fun punk rock bands, I said it, to listen to was not going to make music anymore. And 2 albums later, they would write what is my favorite Offspring song, Slim Pickens. We'll get to that later, though.
Really? All right.
I love Slim Pickens.
That's
Slim
fine.
Pickens is one of the best song titles ever.
It is.
But, I mean, songs doesn't really
Yeah, it
match
was
up
fine.
to the title.
Is it the best Offspring song, Dan?
I would say no.
Nope.
For me, The Offspring pretty much begins and ends with Jennifer Lost the War and ends with The Kids Aren't All Right.
So you didn't make it too far in.
Well,
then.
it technically does
No,
start
I
with
listened to
Jennifer
the
Lost the
entire.
War.
I listened to the entire fucking discography.
I mean,
but-
like, from where you...
This man is a professional.
But as far as
He fulfills his commitments.
But as far as my personal enjoyment
Yeah,
goes,
that's what I meant.
it definitely ends somewhere in the middle of Americana.
Well, Americana is the reason everybody knows this band.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty
I
fly
mean-
for a white guy. Come out and play.
I came in probably about... Yeah, Americana, then I went back and got Smash and...
Smash is fucking great.
Yeah,
man.
Smash is
I
great.
love
Went
it.
back and got Smash. Stayed on probably till about somewhere in between Splinter and Rise and Fall of Raging Grace, and then I just kind of around the time that I guess that press conference thing came out. It was probably around the time I came off, but yeah. So
how many people just didn't ever check their page again after that?
Yeah.
Okay, well it's over, I guess.
shut the page on. that book on that one.
let's jump back in time here a little bit, guys. Because the early Offspring albums are the ones that were my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
These are hardcore punk with California vocals.
Correct, and annoying California vocals. I'm all about shouted vocals. I am. I don't have to explain that, but there's something about dude's voice that just kind of upsets me a little bit, but it did not bother me as much when the songs weren't as obnoxious. Self-titled Offspring was actually kind of a lot of fun for me. It's their most aggressive era of the band.
Yeah, and I can see what you say. Like his regular singing voice is okay, but I mean he does have that voice that stands out. But it is a little bit nails on a chalkboard. But I kind of like it. But yeah, it just depends on the song really. If it's not feeling it, then yeah. But I had never listened to this album actually before doing this for this, and I thought it was good for a first album. I thought it was really really impressive. All the songs have a little dash of anarchy on them. It's kind of fun. But probably one of the best things I saw was the video for Jennifer Lost the War. And oh my gosh, they're so cute.
That's a great song, though.
Yeah, but it was such a cute, like, it just reminded me of when I was in a band at that age. You know, they're like really young, like late teens, early 20s, and they're just like filming themselves like in front of like a garage or whatever and playing. And it was a good song. They all, you know, Dexter standing there with trying to, I guess, stand out by wearing clothes that have all holes in them. He's the only one like doing that. But
well, and isn't it true that Noodles is like their janitor, or it's like the janitor at their school?
Oh, probably, yeah.
And I know Noodles got stabbed at one point. Like, it's so funny just seeing these young kids hook up with this like obviously older dude. Like, and he goes on to be like an iconic member of this band that was so popular. But what I liked about this first album though was just I liked the energy, obviously, because I'm a metal hardcore fan predominantly. So, you know, I could appreciate the hardcore punk element of it. You know, and yeah, his voice is a little nails on a chalkboard, but I think it matches the music better on these early albums. I think once you start getting into their more mainstream stuff, I remember hearing Offspring songs on the radio and being like, I don't understand how this band got as popular as they did, because like the lyrics, especially on the first few records, especially on the first one, like these songs were about things, like about actual like world events and like mindsets. You know, there would seem to be kind of this focus on, you know, middle America and how like it was actually shitty, even though it like seems all happy and or whatever.
What some people would call actual subject matter.
Exactly, and that's the kind of thing that I like about punk is I like the kind of everybody's thinking it kind of lyrics, and there was a lot of that in spades on this album.
Yeah, I also liked, they did like a couple of songs that stood out. Elders, I liked that song. Beheaded was a little crass, but I still liked it.
Oh, Beheaded was fucking great.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's pretty good. And then,
a little crass. You did the Slipknot episode with us.
I know.
And we were like, hey, this song, he says, I want to slit your throat and fuck the wound.
Well, just some of the lyrics
crass.
I didn't realize on some stuff, but I did like Beheaded. And then Tehran, which I'm assuming is about, isn't that Iran? Yeah, that one was pretty good. It's got a good rhythm to it. But yeah, I mean, there's other songs on there that definitely make you think that there's a message they're trying to get across. I mean, there's Kill the President and Demons and things like that. So yeah, they definitely had a message they wanted to get out.
Absolutely, and I liked that about it. It had that energy, and it had passion and drive. These songs weren't written to like appeal to a mass audience, I guess is where I'm coming from on this.
Yeah, it was definitely a good start. Like if I was in, that was my first CD with my band, I'd be like, that's pretty good. Like, you know, I'd be like, sounded pretty good, you know.
Compared to some of the stuff that was being done in the late 80s, yeah. I give this 2 thumbs up. It is no And Justice for All, but it's way better than Kickstart My Heart.
Nice.
You ready for ignition?
Let's do it.
All right.
I was born ready.
So what, this is 3 years later?
Yeah, and like you can tell that they've been playing more, that they're much better musicians.
Everything's a little more tight, a little more cleaned up.
And it's a little heavier too, like not heavier, it's not a really good word to use for this discussion, but like it's a little bit more energetic.
Yeah.
But also like a little bit more fun.
Which is one reason I like the Offspring, because they have some fun songs, and it starts to build up here and really peaks and like hits up in Americana, and then they always throw in some other songs later that are trying to be more fun. Does it always work? Not always, but that's what I kind of like about them. It's a lot of like anthem-y kind of like, yeah, like everyone can get involved in singing in a lot of the songs.
And they're a lot
catchy.
smarter than they have any business being.
Yeah.
With the vocals and the lyrics. That yeah. I don't remember if it's, I've heard him called a rocket scientist, but I know that's not his certification. Microbiology, thank you very much.
Pretty sure.
So, like, to a lesser degree, in my opinion, Rivers Cuomo, this guy is actually smart and educated, and he's writing clever lyrics about things that still come off as fun. And that's important, especially when you're playing punk rock and you're trying to appeal to a mainstream audience. I don't know that they were trying to appeal to a mainstream audience. I think they were just trying to do California punk.
Yeah, like not at this point. I don't think they were going for really any kind of mainstream success. But I think they were accessible in the sense that, you know, dude has a very recognizable voice. And that's from day one. You know, it's not like they were some kind of like hyper respected punk band or something where they had all this underground credibility, I think that they were always going to end up getting picked up by a bigger label and
eventually.
Yes. And like this record I like because it's a little bit more fun, but like the lyrical concepts are still more rooted in like reality and actually having a message. And like sometimes the message is horrible but like it's so fun, you know, and like that's enjoyable. That's enjoyable to me. Like that's what I took from this record.
Just want to make a quick correction. PhD in molecular biology.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Oh no, it was me.
God,
who did
that
it.
is so
I just
punk
wanted to make
rock
sure.
to go to college.
I thought, man, I tell you, that's another thing that really stood out to me as a biology degree student myself. When I found all that out as I was getting older, that he was still going to school for all that stuff, I was like, heck yeah, me too. Like, yeah, so I always thought that was really cool.
A few dashes of alternative rock on this record.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that stood out to me because that was really the avenue that they needed to pursue in order to gain that mainstream success. And I don't necessarily think they were like to get mainstream success at this point, but like they were definitely looking more towards their future. You know, because like the first Offspring album is just basically energy from beginning to end. This record, we kind of slowed things down a little bit in places and went for a more emotional, relatable approach. And I do think this is more of a transitional album. For whatever reason, even though I think objectively it is better than the self-titled, I don't like it as much as I did the self-titled. And I definitely don't like it as much as I liked Smash that came after.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
This is Dirty Magic, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I have some notes about Dirty Magic here.
You just go right ahead.
I was listening to it, and I noticed that the chorus reminds me a lot of Have You Ever from Americana. And as I was listening to it, I was like singing it to it, and I was like, you know, and I even saw in some of the comments on like a YouTube video that people were like, is this Have You Ever? And so I was like, I think they just kind of sped it up a little for Americana and maybe changed the verse, but it definitely sounds pretty similar. Now that I'm not hating, the song's fine, but I mean, it just, I don't know if you caught that, but
we will revisit this in two
all
records
right, because
we might have to do a little back and forth
Yeah.
to see what's going on.
Because there's other songs too down the road that I hear similarities on stuff, but with this album, I definitely liked songs that stood out to me were like Kick 'Em When He's Down, Get It Right. I did like LAPD, but they got a couple N-bombs in there, and I'm like, okay, guys.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody brought that up because like
it wasn't going to be Dan.
you want to talk about I know we're so PC here on Discography Discussion. No, so the thing is that like you talk about certain things that don't age well.
Yeah.
And that's really one of them. Like it's like in 2018 we hear that and we're like, fuck, what were they thinking?
I mean, I think it's more them saying it on behalf of what the police would say to the people that they're hurting or something, but because I was listening to some of the lyrics, but still I was like, it's quite a few times where I'm like, all right, we get it. Like, it's
also a California band in 1992.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there was definitely a point they were making.
We're punk rock.
It was
We're
definitely
saying controversial things.
It was definitely
body count.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, when are we going to talk about body count?
We're not.
Yeah, we are. Anyway.
Give it time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things. Like, I'm going to step in and be a social justice warrior for a second here, though.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan, the social injustice warrior.
And the thing is that, like, they are trying to represent people, but there's a certain sense of, like, you're still, like, a bunch of white dudes that play, like, punk rock. You're like, is there anything whiter than punk rock? So, in that respect, I think it kind of is, like, what they were going for was somewhat lost. And so, like, I don't know. I had a little bit of trouble digesting those lyrics.
You're saying it's difficult to take someone seriously when they're presenting a political point that may or may not actually affect them personally.
Correct. Very good. And so that's my social justice warrior statement.
So you're saying you don't have enough self-esteem? I think we need to go to Smash now.
Yeah. Some Smash. This is about Rice. Like I said, I went back and got into this album after Americana, but it's a great album.
Is this actually their mainstream debut? Is this the one that people caught?
I think so.
I know for me it was Americana, but I also know that when I was listening to all the songs on the radio that were from Americana, I was also hearing Come Out and Play.
Yeah.
Self-Esteem. What Happened to You?
Yeah.
Smash.
A lot of these songs were really great. First of all, I have a message from Jeff, Mr. Sunny Day Real Estate Kane.
How you doing?
He's not even on the podcast.
He told me to tell you
Fuck.
to let everyone know that Bad Habit is his favorite.
Okay.
And I agree. I have a Bad Habit story because I thought it was a great song because it's got that ending part with all the swear words. And 12-year-old me was like, oh, yeah, that's cool.
Listen to this, Mom.
Yeah.
Fuck the system.
And at the end, so I went to my
Host.
I'm at my friend's house at like 12, and I bring this album over, right? And he's a little, I was probably the bad influence in this relationship. And I come over there, and his mom was like downstairs, and I'm like, hey, there's a song called Bad Habit. You got to hear this ending part. And it gets to the end, and it does all, you stupid, dumb shit, all that stuff. And I'm like, isn't that cool? And like, I kind of turn it down so his mom can't hear a little, and like our ears are like up against the speaker. And he's like, yeah, it's all right. It's fine. I'm like, really? Okay, fine. So like, I think he was just more terrified, but I'm like, I think looking back, I was the bad influence on that one.
It's like anytime Jeff shows me a new band. He'll be like, dude, you're going to love this. And I'm like, it's okay.
But man, I love that song, and Gotta Get Away. Oh my gosh, angsty little 12-year-old, 14-year-old me.
You saying you don't want to come out and play?
I've got to give it to you. Like the sheer controversy was so much fun. It made teenage Dan think like, I get it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Nobody else fucking gets it. Nobody else gets it. And it's such a cheap feeling though, because especially when you look at what this band went on to become.
Well, yeah.
That's the contradiction. That's the issue that I'm having overall with it.
But see, just pretend like this is the only one.
But I shouldn't.
I know this is Discography Discussion, yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't have to pretend though. It is what it is.
Oh, I know. But this whole part here through the next couple albums still is the sweet spot for me.
Fair enough.
This song I also like too, because this was one of the first mainstream songs I learned to play on my drums. And I remember being so excited to get that beginning cymbal part, being like, yeah, that's right, I figured it out. And so that's another one that stood out. Self-Esteem I like, but I feel like it's overplayed. And so it kind of wore out on me. But this is also another interesting thing. The Offspring tend to have, trends or habits that they do in their CDs. This is where it started doing the vocal intros. So in this one, they got they always have someone coming in to oh, it's time to relax, or, something like that. And they'll have a vocal intro. And then they usually have some sort of bonus song at the end. I believe this one at the end of Smash, you got to wait 5 minutes. But 5 minutes after, there's an instrumental of Come Out and Play.
You know what irritates me is that, or I think around this time, what year was this, Joe? This was
94.
94. Okay, never mind.
Save that point for later?
I'll save this point for later.
I wish I could say I have more to say about this album. It is kind of the second entry in what The Offspring is.
Let's take a look, too, at the fact that this was their biggest mainstream success up to this point. I mean, this is I feel like the album that broke The Offspring into the mainstream.
This definitely got everyone's attention.
Yeah, I mean, Self-Esteem, like Melissa said, so overplayed.
Yeah, but
it was such a good preview of what The Offspring was going to become. Mm-hmm. This is not, the punk rock of the day. This is they've almost gone.
It's definitely not grunge.
They've definitely gone to embrace the more mainstream alternative rock that was popular at the time. Whatever alternative rock actually means.
It's an alternative to what's mainstream.
Okay, well, all right.
When the alternative becomes mainstream, though, it's still alternative.
Very good.
So now...
Ixnay on the hombre, bro.
1997.
Here we go.
Not as familiar with this album. I don't know why I didn't buy it. I guess when I went back and got Smash, I guess I just didn't pick up this one.
Well, what's weird to me is that, this was around the time that a movie came out called Batman Forever.
Yep.
And, the Offspring was featured on that soundtrack with the song Smash It Up.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that song. It's my favorite Offspring song. And so I was a little disappointed when I bought the Offspring album that song wasn't on it. It was just a single that was never released on an album.
Should have went for the Batman Forever soundtrack. Get that "Kissed by a Rose" by Seal.
Oh yeah, I mean that shit is.
Oh, that's my jam.
That shit is smooth as ice.
We need to switch to Seal, Dan. I'm sorry.
To a Seal discography discussion. I'd be for that, man.
It's got to happen now.
Maybe it will.
This album too, X-Nay on the Ombre, also had another vocal intro. This one was kind of like about parental controls, so it was pretty funny. And then even at the end, there's like an outro, like outer voice that kind of like closes it. But
it's even funnier considering parental controls in the '90s were so laughable.
Given why I was listening to these albums.
2 words: scrambled porn.
Oh god.
3 words: V-chip, bitches. I think everybody knows this album for the same reason I know this album. It has All I Want on it.
Yeah.
And if you've played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 in your life, you know All I Want. And you bought Ixnay on the Ombre many years after it was released, mind you, for that reason. You have to have this song. I don't really have an attachment to any of the songs in this album. It's Offspring, but it's lacking in the Offspring radio single department. Every album of theirs seems to have at least 3 or 4 songs that are extremely similar in composition but appeal for different reasons. This just kind of has All I Want, and I'm not really into any of the other songs.
Well, yeah, and like they made a big stink about how like their next album wasn't going to be Smash Part 2, and it wasn't for sure. But like it was kind of boring and a little stock. Like it's a little bit more punky, not as good as their debut. Like that record is fucking phenomenal. But this record especially was just kind of like a meh. Like it was like if I could accuse the band of releasing an album for keeping the relationship with the label or something. This is not a bad record by any stretch, but it's not like that interesting. And I feel like this is the point where the Offspring subject matter really started to slip.
Yeah, I mean, this album didn't really stand out too much for me, which kind of makes it interesting that like, a year later they came out with Americana. Like, I have a feeling like since Smash was such a big hit that people would maybe be a little disappointed in this one.
Well, yeah, like Americana was like, I mean,
this
like
is
the record,
shit.
like the record they wanted to make.
Yeah, I guess.
But instead they're just like, well, we still got these 10 songs, so you know.
Yeah,
fuck you, we'll just put them out.
With X-Nay on the Ombre, too, like, yeah, the songs, All I Want's fine. Gone Away, I definitely remembered that one when I was listening to this. I thought Cool to Hate was really fun, and The Meaning of Life. But this one also has, like, this one, they definitely have a little more funny in this one. Like, they even have an intermission song where it's just, like, a cute little, like, ditty in the middle for just an intermission between the songs.
Yeah.
They're having a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one didn't really stand out too much.
That's my problem. I just can't relax and have a good time.
1998, Americana. The kids are not all right.
You guys, this album.
So if you're a fan of The Offspring, this is your fucking jam. It's my jam.
Man.
It's everyone's jam.
So jam.
The Kids Aren't All Right is just such a great song.
This is what I think of when I think of Offspring.
Yeah, I mean, this song, like, cause this is like kind of like the last Offspring that I was really into. And I liked that this song had, you know, again, strong subject matter, like talking about shit that we can all relate to, you know, and they did it again a couple more times on the record, which I really enjoyed. You know, it's like the kids aren't all right, you know. It's like, wow, we live in a modern society and all this shit, and like everybody talks about how like high school is the greatest years of your life, you know, and this song was like kind of a big middle finger to that, you know, like, you know, these guys are all like addicted to drugs and shit, like it's not really that great. And then another song that I really want to
throw
on there is Why Don't You Get a Job?
I don't like
Why
that.
Don't You Get a Job is like the most like
we're having a good time.
I mean, here's the thing. Growing up in St. Louis, there's no way you haven't heard this song. You just have. And it's a little, in 2018, it's a little kind of sexist, a little bit, just a little bit. But he's not necessarily saying anything bad about women. But when you start a song with my friend's got a girlfriend and he hates that bitch.
Okay, later it's my friend's got a boyfriend and she hates that dick.
And she hates that dick, right. So it's there. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, this concept of, people being lazy and you having to pay for them, and all that shit. Like, that was literally the most, like, relatable song for people in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think this song is largely responsible for their success following this, because people just, on our local alternative station, this song still gets played constantly.
At least daily.
You don't think it was Pretty Fly? That pushing?
I think this song gets played more in St. Louis on radio stations than Pretty Fly for a White Guy.
Because, again, this album had another spoken intro, but it has some great songs. Some that really stood out. Like, Pretty Fly for a White Guy is great for, like, group karaoke and things like that, and it's got real catchy, it's fun. But, the songs that really stood out to me as because I was 12 when this came out and I got it. Somehow, I guess I talked my parents into it. I just bought it myself. They didn't really care. So I was listening to this, and I remember late at night, like before I go to bed, I would listen to with my Discman. I'd have my headphones on and I'd listen to "Staring at the Sun" and "No Brakes," and those were usually the ones that I listened to a lot. Again, Americana's fun.
Do you eat a lot of Emo's pizza while you listen to Americana? You kind of have to, right?
She's got issues.
That one's got a good guitar riff.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
This is what I love about the Offspring. And Americana is the template that they would use, and we're building up to this point. It's punky, but then they throw those little pop moments in. And I don't know if they're giving a middle finger to the pop industry. Yes, I said pop industry.
They're definitely not, because, there's the rest of their discography to consider.
But they keep going back to it. They keep saying
you're totally wrong, but,
They have this one song on the album that's just out of place and ridiculous, and I don't know who that's for, other than to be like, okay, guys, we're going to dance now.
Which song?
Pretty Fly for a White Guy on this one. Why Don't You Get a Job?
Yeah. That video was fun,
A song that's on Days Go By that we're going to get to later.
That Why Don't You Get a Job had a fun video. I remember. It was like them walking down the street with little marching band instruments.
That's what I love about them.
Yeah,
they were just having fun. This is California punk rock.
Well, and this is also, I think, the only album that they actually put a cover on. They've done many covers like during shows, but they have a kind of their own version of the cover of Feelings. But I think they kind of changed the lyrics a little bit. But like it definitely, it's a song.
It's intense as hell.
They changed it.
Ladies and gentlemen, me first and the Gimme Gimmes. Let's talk about their feelings.
Jesus.
Is that the name of the band that they're covering?
No.
Okay, because that would have been amazing.
That's a punk band that covers many different genres.
This is the most
We'll
punk
talk later.
song. This is the most punk song on the album. Wasn't even
Not
written
a bad
by
cover.
them. It's not a bad cover.
Or somewhat cover.
I was just done after this record, though, because it's more of a personal thing, and just that my musical taste had changed. Like by this point in my life, if it's not screaming, I'm not listening. Like that sort of thing. Yeah. So it is hard for me to get into anything that came after this, and the only reason I really like this is probably just for the nostalgia.
So you're saying you changed again? I have a pun for every album this week.
Damn it, Joe! Right. No, but this album again. I was totally on board. I even had a poster in my room that it was like a fisheye lens of the band with like Dexter with his cornrows in the front with sunglasses on, and he was giving you the finger, and the finger was like real big. But I don't even know if my parents really cared. They mentioned about that being on my wall, and I kind of didn't
art, Mom.
Well, I also didn't want to explain it to my grandparents and stuff all the time, so I ended up taking a white piece of paper and wrote "censored" on it and put it on top of the finger. So then it was still kind of cool.
Way to personalize it there, Melissa.
I was like, that'll be fine. And then I even got they had something. Remember, like they'd take bands and they'd put the word "maximum" over them. So like they had, I think they did it with other bands, but they had Maximum Offspring, and I have the album still, and it was basically like it came with a little poster, and it had an album of like a video blog and some other songs based on the Offspring. So I remember having that hanging up too. And then around this time, well, if we're ready to head into the next one.
Yes, we're ready.
Conspiracy of One.
This is when,
AKA Dan's life story.
Yeah. Yeah, this is around the time that I'm pretty sure I went to this concert for the promotion of this CD, I think, when I was 14 with my dad.
I'm still very satisfied with the band at this point.
Oh yeah, it was a good show, and I think they were tickets for my 14th birthday, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it was a pretty good time. Dan, what do you think of this album?
Oh Jesus. Well,
we've already established it's not your thing. Now make it your thing for this episode. Damn it!
Do it.
I changed again.
It's pretty damn good. I actually think it's better than Americana. I think the songwriting is vastly improved over Americana, and I don't think it's as cheap or gimmicky. That being said, really not into the Offspring at this point. Because, I'm, 5-6 albums in now, and I'm starting to hear a lot of the same shit over and over and over again, and I didn't like Dude's voice that much to begin with. So, and again, this is not the band's fault. It's just kind of a thing that happens. I just had grown away from it at this point, but I admit that the songwriting is better. I think this is actually a more solid record than Americana, but I don't think it has the single power that Americana had.
Confession. I think this is the best Offspring album from a songwriting standpoint.
I can agree with that.
I think if you want to give somebody an Offspring album that has never listened to the Offspring before, you should give them this first.
I feel so dirty after agreeing with Joe.
I won't make that pun, sorry.
Again, this one's got a spoken word by Dexter in the beginning. That's kind of real short. But no, this one's got some good songs. I mean, this one, Want You Bad, this one's good.
Hell yes.
Damn It, I Changed Again.
Original Prankster.
Yeah, do you like Original Prankster, Dan?
It's got Redman.
I've heard it on the radio more times than I care to admit.
He wants to come out swinging when he hears Original Prankster.
Do I turn the radio off whenever I hear Original Prankster? No. But, I mean, if my phone's charged up and my headphones are charged, then, I'm probably going to listen to not this. That's all I got to say.
I mean, a lot of their songs have similar trends, too. You sing about life is shitty, or I'm in this shitty relationship that's either emotionally, sexually, or physically harmful, but I'm still in it.
But, it's been that way for, a lot of albums.
Oh, I know. But, they definitely kind of hit on it a little bit, in this album, too. Denial Revisited was pretty good.
They just really doubled down on the relatable lyrics.
Yeah.
But, I'm more of a fan, especially in punk music, of lyrics that are more focused on actual things that are happening. Not that the relatable lyrics aren't happening and they aren't real, but I just don't necessarily need a band to explain to me
about bad relationships.
Isn't
that what
I'm
all
gonna experience
bands sing
that
about,
over
really?
time anyway.
It's always about
no, you guys are right. I'm just out of my element on this episode because a lot of the descriptors that I use like heavy, fast, aggressive, brutal, whatever, none of it applies here, and so it's going to get really interesting whenever we talk about more non-metal bands on the show. Well, this is the first time we've done this, and I hope it goes over well with people.
Also, one more quick note: Vultures also sounded similar to Dirty Magic / Have You Ever to me.
So let's talk about it. I have this thought about the Offspring that I have about many bands that stand the test of time. We mentioned it on Disturbed. This band became a playlist band. There is nothing wrong with that. You can listen to the best songs by Def Leppard. Just realize that they're still putting out albums. Because I'm going to go to the show and I'm going to hear Offspring play their new songs, and I'm going to hear them play a selection of their greatest hits. I have the same expectation about Metallica or Megadeth or any metal band that I like that's been around long enough. I feel like the majority of the Offspring fans aren't buying their albums at this point. They're just listening to the hits because the hits are on the radio. They're making the band money. I'm enjoying it. You're enjoying it. If they come to town, you're going to buy the ticket. You're going to go see the show, and it's going to be an awesome punk rock, hard rock show.
Well, it's still 2000, so people are still buying the CD and supporting the bands.
This is when Napster was happening. They stopped supporting the bands.
Well, yeah, but I'm on a 56K connection. It takes a lot less time at this point for me to drive to fucking Best Buy and buy the CD. Did I do that? No, I didn't.
Well, I can tell you the one I definitely didn't do it for was the next album, Splinter.
Real quick, though. Dan, favorite song off of Conspiracy of One?
I was trying to get you out of it, man. I'm sorry.
Damn
She's
it,
too damn good.
I changed again.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is really
It's fun.
fucking good. Yeah.
Yeah, see, you can do it.
And I didn't really even really remember this album whenever I went back to listen for this episode. And that song definitely stood out to me, and I enjoyed it probably more than the rest of the tracks on the album.
You gonna give this album a rotation for the next month or so?
Fuck you. I got Agony Scene to listen to, bitch.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we will. Next week, we are returning to metal.
AKA the worst hangover ever. Ladies and gentlemen, Splinter, the album nobody owns. I don't like it. I don't know what the fuck they were doing.
Hey, assholes, you're not a ska band.
Yeah, they did try some different stuff.
You've never been a ska band.
They weren't a samba band either, but they did those fucking songs.
I get that ska was fucking hot in the early 2000s. I get it. But you've never been ska before.
I think they were still trying to keep their slightly political statement going a little.
Yeah, no, you're right.
The first song that is 1 minute and 8 seconds, Neocon. I'm pretty sure they're talking about neoconservatism.
Well, it's not like neoconservatism is a problem today, right?
They just scream a lot of "We will never lose," and then it's called Neocon. So I was like, all right, but so I mean, they started out, with it a little bit, yeah, and then the noose is a good song that comes after that, but yeah, a lot of it, I don't know.
I mean, Race Against Myself.
No,
is a thing.
that
the
one was
noose
good.
is actually a really good song.
Yeah, the noose, Race Against Myself. The thing is, the only song I really remembered off this just by looking at it was "Hit That," and that's because it was kind of didn't fit, and it was like a radio hit kind of song. I mean, it's a fun song, but it was definitely, you could tell it kind of doesn't fit in the album. Like they just wrote it to get it more plays, kind of thing.
It might have been a radio hit, but this is 2003, and in 2018, people are still playing all the shit off of Americana. The Offspring is still a really respected band, and people love them. But I kind of wonder if 2 albums past Americana, if people kind of don't really give a shit what the band's doing now.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, they're still playing shows and stuff.
Right,
People,
but why are people showing up at the shows?
Because they're going to hear Flirty Fly for a while.
What songs do they want to hear?
But that's with a lot of bands. Especially bands that have been playing as long as they have.
No, I get it. I understand that a lot of bands have that, but we're talking about this band.
And I know, and I'm saying the same thing.
I'm just feeling a dick.
But no, I mean, hey, which song is this, Joe?
Race Against Myself.
All right, can you pull up Never Gonna Find Me?
It might be difficult, but I think I can make that happen.
Are you
going
to be able to find Never Gonna Find Me? I feel like the verse in here sounds a lot like Staring at the Sun.
So let's talk about that.
You caught it too?
It is not uncommon for bands of limited talent or limited creative outlet to write songs that are very similar. It's also not uncommon for a band that has radio playability to have the record label come in and say, we need you to do that again. And some of the most creative ones just fucking do it again. Hey Dan, how many versions of Smells Like Teen Spirit are there? I can think of 3 without trying.
Too many. They all sound the same.
Teen Spirit, Dumb, Rape Me. Same fucking song, 3 different tunings.
Yeah, but Rape Me is amazing.
It is a good song.
So, yeah, it's similar.
Yes, I noticed that, and then Dahui, I don't know what the heck that was, or whatever that is. They were just throwing some really weird shit into this album.
I assume this is the same for everyone, but my copy of the album has an acoustic version of Defy You on it, which was a single that they recorded for the movie
track.
Orange County.
Yes.
I love that song.
Yeah, Defy You is good.
I like that Offspring is a band that, for the most part, is a guitarist and a singer. And that's not to discount any of the other members, but much like Incubus back in the day, if 2 guys show up and they've got an acoustic, I don't feel like I'm going to be disappointed. I feel like any of their songs will sound just as good with that minimum of a presentation, and not every band can do that.
Even if they played When You're in Prison?
They can play whatever they want, and I'm in.
I was listening to that song, and I'm like, oh, that's fun. It's like an old-timey radio thing. Then I'm like, you know what? This song is about jail rape. Okay. So it's just like that kind of put a damper. Oh, that's fun. They're having fun. Like, I don't understand who this song is for, but probably just for them.
Rise and Fall, Rage and Grace. I mentioned it earlier. My understanding was the band was done for a week. Mm-hmm. And what we got in response to that was this single. I was not pleased. I was concerned they were doing this fake, techno dance rock for about a minute, and then I realized it's just the Offspring being goofy again, and all their big singles tend to really be goofy in some way. So I listened to the album. I like it.
Yeah, this album's pretty good.
I don't like it as much as I like the next one, but we're going to get to the next one.
Days Go By did not do it for me, and we will get into that. But Rise and Fall, Rage and Grace, I was like, this actually is, they still bring it. It's still,
it's the Offspring.
This song, You're Gonna Go Far, Kid, I heard Dance Fucker Dance all over the place at that time when that was coming. Like, it was everyone was loving that song.
I actually like Dance Fucker Dance.
It's good. It's fun. I mean, and there's other songs too, like Christy, Are You Doing Okay? That was like their kind of ballad. He actually was like kind of trying to sing on that one.
Stuff is messed up.
It's a catchy song. It's good. It's fun. Stuff is messed up, which when you listen to the song, it's actually shit is fucked up. And I was like, oh, okay. And so,
well, of course.
Fucking Hammerhead.
Then you got like Nothing Town, Takes Me Nowhere, Rise and Fall. Those are all good. Now, we'll get to another song in a second here. But if you guys want to say anything, I didn't want to cut anyone off.
I've got nothing at this point, guys.
Joe, what you got?
I love this album.
Can you maybe do me a favor? So there's a song here that I remember.
Anything for you, Melissa.
There's a song here that I remember. The first one, Half Truism, is good. But when you get to the chorus, it reminds me of another song, not one of their songs. So if you would start the chorus up, or at least we'll get to the chorus, and I will sing what it reminds me of. So if you'll go back a little bit, this is exactly what I was hearing.
Just sing songy bullshit.
It's a good song.
Yeah, it is, but like,
here we
objectively, it's a good song. I'm just.
All right, here we go. What's the worst that I could say? Things are better if I stay. So long and good night. So long, not good night. And then it kind of like goes back into the verse. That was a horrible singing job I just did.
Auto-tune is not a thing in the studio. You're fucked.
Yeah, I know. And then it goes back into
everyone's going to hear this.
Yeah, it's fine. Fuck it. And then it's all like, it goes right back into the verse. And it's like, came a time when every fall. It reminded me a lot of it. I kept hearing it every time I was listening to the song.
Here's the thing. Which came first, My Chemical Romance or this?
This.
Well, it's 2008.
Right.
Well, technically, then My Chemical Romance did, but
what did is it Helena? How you
I don't
it?
think this sounds like My Chemical Romance.
Not even close.
I don't know.
No.
That chorus does to me.
I don't know, man. I think aesthetic similarity doesn't.
Yeah, I mean it could be just
doesn't mean that they were trying to like
something.
Because I mean, if they were trying to jump onto the emo bandwagon, they would have back in 2005. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't see that here.
All right, just something came into my head. Disclaimer: I do sing better than that. Just saying.
That's what everybody says.
Melissa, when's the album coming out?
Haven't had one for like 10 years.
Sounds good. I'll keep waiting.
Days Go By. 2012.
Boo. I have a boo and a sad face.
An album that is fun as fuck to listen to, but has way too much of that jokey shit. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've got OC Guns. We've got Cruising California. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, that's what my note says. What? And then bass bumping in my trunk.
They need to leave California to the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
But then we've got Secrets from the Underground, Days Go By, Turning on You, Hurting is One, Dirty Magic, Divide by Zero, Slim Pickens, I Want a Secret Family with You.
Yeah, they're not.
Everything else is good.
No.
Actually, Slim Pickens Does the Right Thing and Rides the Bomb to Hell.
Yes.
Is the actual title, or is the actual song name?
You don't have to tell me. This is my number one song by The Offspring.
I only like this song
Really?
because of the title.
Yeah, that's it, really.
And because honestly, the song sounds like really stock Offspring.
Yeah. I'm
it's
with Dan.
generically them.
I mean, I would say like Dividing by Zero or The Future Is Now are probably better than that.
Well, you'll be happy to know that if you go see the Offspring live, they're going to play Divide by Zero and Slim Pickens as a medley.
Yeah.
My opinion, OC Guns, best song on the album.
Yeah. Okay.
Yourself.
Yeah, I have.
I'm working on it, dude. People keep stopping me.
Yeah, I have question mark for that song.
I just liked it because it was different. I get tired of hearing the same shit every single fucking album.
It had a Sublime vibe to it.
But man, that Cruise in California, caught a glimpse of that video.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, aren't they like, I don't know.
California.
They pull up to this this broken down RV or something with their own RV, and they get off and they're like playing the song, and then all these like hot ladies come out and they're all dancing and it's.
I like hot ladies.
Yeah, but the way that the women sing, I'm not going to sing that one.
So you're going to criticize how somebody sings now?
Yeah, I
I'm
admit.
just giving you shit.
What I just sang was really bad.
You're fine. No, I'm just giving you shit.
It was also hard to do it with another song in my head.
Every time I hear Cruise in California, I think of the Karate Kid when they're on the beach and they've got their convertibles and they're listening to stereos with D batteries that probably lasted 45 minutes.
Oh my God, you have no idea.
And they were like
8 AA batteries. They're like, if you were lucky enough to get a boombox that had like D batteries, you were good for like what, 2 hours?
Yeah, and you had to have like 8 D batteries.
It was like having a Sega Game Gear, man. You're getting fucked in this deal. You just don't know it. Anyway, I don't feel like this discography ended on a high note.
Well, and they have apparently another one coming out, right?
Yeah. I mean, 6 years later. So, I mean,
if they're going to do it, give it time to get better, I guess.
Absolutely.
Final thoughts on the Offspring. Melissa.
I love them. Still love the Offspring. Yeah, they're maybe not as hot as they were back then, like music-wise and stuff, and it's a lot of repetition on some things, but they're still having a good time. They're having fun playing. I mean, most of them have been together for 30-plus years, and you can't always say that about a lot of bands. Yeah, they went through a lot of drummers, but most bands do. But, I mean, they really meant a lot to me during my teenage years, and I'll still always have a soft spot for them in my heart, so... And again, someone out there has got to know or got to feel like that song is a little bit like My Chemical Romance. Come on, someone help me out so that it doesn't make me seem that I sang for nothing.
I like My Chemical Romance a lot more than I like The Offspring.
Except for that one album.
Which one?
And by that one album, I mean that last album.
Which one? I don't even,
Sing it out.
I don't even know. Like, I haven't listened to it
If you don't know, that's a good thing. Continue to not know.
But yeah, no, thumbs up for me. I was so excited to do this episode.
Dan, what about you?
First 4 albums are solid fucking gold. The rest is your mileage may vary. I'm not a huge fan of the style, so I may not be the best person to commentate. But I can tell you that if you like punk rock and you like alternative rock and you like lyrics that you can relate to, The Offspring is definitely a good choice. And if you haven't heard them already, please remove yourself from whatever rock you are living under.
The Offspring is one of my favorite bands to listen to if I want to listen to something fun. The majority of their smarts are in their lyrics. So if you're a lyric guy, you might get something out of listening to everything they say or sing. And when you're not getting anything out of it, that might be on purpose because I think they're just fucking with you. But listen to The Offspring. They're fun. Put them on shuffle. Listen to their greatest hits. In fact, buy their greatest hits. You don't have to buy the albums, because if you're still in after the greatest hits, you'll buy the albums that you like. What's your album of the week, Dan?
Dying Fetus, wrong one to fuck with.
Is that where you were like listening to in between the Offspring, kind of?
Absolutely.
Cleansing the palate?
It was like Offspring, Dying Fetus, Offspring, Cannibal Corpse, Offspring, Cephalic Carnage. Whenever I have to listen to something I'm not like totally familiar with, I have to throw some death grind in there to, balance it all out, balance out the palette.
Melissa, what about you?
I'm going to throw back to 2004 Futures by the band Jimmy Eat World.
That's a great record.
It is.
Jeff approves.
We're talking about The Offspring. Listen to Days Go By. I will be listening to Days Go By. What do we got coming up in a month, Dan? We're going to be in Nashville at the Rock N Pod.
We are going to be at the Rock N Pod Expo 2, which will be taking place at the Nashville Palace. on August 25th. $10 to get in. Be there. We'll be there. Roach Coach will be there. Joshua Toomey will be there. Brian Head Welch from Korn will be there. Toby Wright will be there. And you're going to be there.
And on that note, this has been episode 76 of Discography Discussion. Thank you for listening. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at discussmetal. Subscribe to our podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. Visit discussmetal.com for all things discography discussion, and please send questions and comments to danandjoeshow@gmail.com. If you are not a patron, you can become one at patreon.com/discussmetal. We have some sweet perks. Give me your money.
Ask me how I feel about doing this with the Offspring.
How do you feel about doing this with the Offspring?
That's not what I wanted. Cut that. What I wanted to ask you is... Here, I'll
Damn,
start
she
again.
comes on here and starts telling us what to do. Shit.
Please cut that. Okay, here, we'll start again. Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Ask me how pumped I am to do this.
How pumped are you
Son
to
of a
do
bitch,
this?
I messed it up again. Hang on a second.
Scripted podcasts don't work.
These are going at the end of the show, by the way. Hey, Mike, real quick, can I get a chaos? Thank you.
That's good.
Never mind,
Chaos
just keep
has gotten
going.
so much better over the years.
One more time, Melissa, come on.